Bienvenidos, señoras y señores, to another episode of the Bleed Lows podcast. Let's take care of business here. This episode of the Bleed Lows podcast is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. From the preseason NFL to college kicking off, BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our winner-take-all 300,000 NFL Survivor pool for the upcoming season. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and use the promo code BELIEVE, B-L-E-A-V, and get in on the action. Bet online, the game starts here. Bienvenidos, señoras y señores. We are live en vivo in the carne asada. I can see that we have some regulars already on the line. Hey, Michael, what comment are you talking about, man? I didn't remove anything. I don't have control to delete comments. So, but I see we got Tanya, we got Adrian, Roy Estrada is here, Simeon's here. Denny Cortez, Denny, who was upset that he missed the last live. Joining us, of course, we got regulars. We got Canelo. We got the gambler, Carlos. We got Babyface. Before we get into the topics, I know you guys are already coming in hard with the Heyward thing. I just want to point something out to us. This is an achievement for us, and that is this is our 300th episode. We have been doing this 300 episodes, believe it or not. And I want to thank you guys who've been joining us on the live, you guys who listen to us on the podcast, you guys who watch us on YouTube. We can't thank you enough for your support. I want to acknowledge a couple other people, but Babyface is the guy who started this. Babyface is the guy who runs this. So I'm going to defer to Babyface. Babyface, what do you want to say about hitting 300? That's a big number, man.
Yeah, it's a pretty big milestone to hit 300. You know, I mean, you guys know how tough this is to do this consistently every week, and you know, I got to thank you guys for participating in this and wanting to do it. And even when I may not feel like doing it, you know, I'll get a text, hey, what are we doing on the live this week? So I know that you guys want to do it. So I appreciate you guys, and I don't know. 300 more, right? Let's do it.
There we go. 300 more. So I want to give a couple shout outs. La Princesa de Picolandia is not here. She's been a big part of those 300 episodes. Our dear friend Alonso, who was from the beginning. Alonso was the guy doing this. So a big shout out to Alonso. Alonso and Alicia are a lot of what this show is about. And then we've had, you know, some additions throughout. And, you know, big shout out to Elisa Hernandez, who would occasionally guest host. Elisa just became the Denver Broncos team reporter, by the way, everybody. So give a shout out to Elisa, who's killing it.
So does that mean is she moving to Denver? Because I got to ask her. I haven't had a chance to talk to her, but like it seems like she's over there.
Yeah, I believe she's already moved to Denver. So yeah, she's going to be over there. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing her doing I mean, she may fly out for Salvadorian Heritage Night, but because she's a Salvi, but she may be done with her in-game hosting duties at Dodger Stadium. But a big shout out, congratulations to Elisa. Elisa also helped out with the show, The Boatman. The Boatman, he's been very great to us, and he's been a guest host, so big shout out to him. To Amy Cuevas, who helped us for a bit. She's also contributed to the show. And then we added Canelo, and then everything took over. When Canelo came on and he was dropping the knowledge, the show went in we got a new vibe there. And then we got Carlos the Gambler joined in, because we met Carlos actually at a signing with Buehler and a man who's completely forgotten in the Dodgers minor league system.
Was it Bobby Miller? It was the Bobby Miller signing, right?
Yeah, it was Bobby Miller, but there was
Cartaya.
And Cartaya was there, and that's where we met Carlos. So,
yes.
Like I said, we're gonna get a shout out here. If you guys want to jump the line to get your comments read, it's the super chat. But Adrian Rodriguez, thank you very much, my friend, for your contribution. Adrian just gave us a super chat for $4.99. 300th episode requires an automatic donation for all members. This is my favorite Dodger podcast, hands down. Viva la carne asadas. Adrian, thank you so much, man. Like I said, the lives, they take on a different energy because of you guys. We love you guys' engagement. So let's get into it. I know everybody wants to talk about this, and that is the Jason Heyward DFA. So I want to address, because there were some specific, Tanya Mesa, this is a very sad that they let go of Jason. He was doing awesome. Let's see what other, Adrian Heyward DFA'd, no position versatility, and he's a lefty bat we don't need. Denny Cortez, Jason, hey, goodbye. Let's see. Jorge Larios, RIP Heyward. All right. This is it. So let's go. Canelo wrote an article about this, so I want to start off with Canelo. Canelo, your thoughts on Jason Heyward, the Dodgers dropping the axe on Jason Heyward?
I'm a little surprised. I'm surprised that they did it so soon, especially with Chris Taylor being activated, officially on an off day. Even in my article, when I said, all right, Jason Heyward, Kevin Kiermaier, who are we going with? Who's going to win this battle? Like, it seemed like it was pretty much down to just those two in terms of who's going to be the left-handed hitting outfielder to come off the bench or, play a late inning defensive role. And the Dodgers ended up ultimately choosing the right guy. I think Kevin Kiermaier, when he got over here, it seemed like he got a little bit of, energy and life to him joining Los Angeles, being reunited with Andrew Friedman, who originally drafted him when he was the, general manager of the Tampa Bay Rays way back in 2010. And, we've seen it a lot right now. He's hitting a lot better since putting on a Dodger uniform. His defense still is amazing, even as I believe a 34-year-old veteran, he's been in the league a long time. He's still in like the 96th, 97th percentile on outs above average. If you look at all of his defensive metrics, defensive run saves, he's top of the top, and in terms of center field, which was an area that the Dodgers struggled in almost all season because, James Outman wasn't hitting, so they ended up having to option him. He was a decent glove out there, but they kind of just had to make it work with Andy Pages, and it was kind of a disservice to him because coming up to the pipeline, he was more of a corner outfielder, and I think the Dodgers knew that. They wanted to get his bat in the lineup, and now that everybody's starting to come back and is healthy, you have Tommy Edman, Kevin Kiermaier, Chris Taylor, Kike Hernandez. You got a lot of position players. One or two of those guys has to go, and Jason Heyward, I'm only surprised by it just because I thought after he hit that 3-run bomb against the Mariners to give them the victory, I thought that just sealed the deal. It doesn't even matter what he does the rest of the seasons. I feel like Dave Roberts and the Dodgers, historically, at least since I've watched the team, would rather just bet on the player than looking at what the stat sheet says. And I kind of just had my mind made up. I said, hey, I would pick Kiermaier, but I think Dave Roberts and Andrew Friedman are going to pick Heyward just for, what he means to the clubhouse and what he meant with that home run the other night. And I think that's why a lot of Dodger fans were shocked on social media. I saw a lot of people saying, wow, I can't believe they did that. And one part of me, I do feel bad for Heyward because I think the reason why he ultimately got DFA'd is just based off the roster construction and how many times that the Dodgers and Andrew Friedman, Brandon Gomes, and Dave Roberts changed their mind. Because when they re-signed him in the offseason for that 1-year, $9 million deal, he was envisioned to being the full-time right fielder. And that was because Betts was envisioned to be the full-time second baseman or at least a shortstop. And once he got injured and came back, they went a completely different route, putting him in right field. Jason Heyward can't play left because Teoscar's there. And Heyward, despite being a plus defender, this season it wasn't really the best. Only had a 1 outs above average, the lowest of his career. And at 35 years old, I don't think he can patrol around center because I know they were floating that idea around. And I said, well, why would you do that when you have Kevin Kiermaier, who's legitimately probably the best center fielder in all of baseball defensively? So I think at the end of the day, it made too much sense. I know a lot of people wanted to DFA Chris Taylor. That was the big thing going around. But at the end of the day, this was more about dollars and cents. And Chris Taylor just has a lot of money tied up to him, more than what the Dodgers are comfortable with letting go. And Heyward, that 1 year, $9 million deal, the year is pretty much over. They probably are only going to eat like $1 or $2 million. And that's to say, if a team doesn't pick him up on waivers, the Dodgers may not even have to pay it at all. But I imagine he'll probably clear waivers and probably re-sign with a contender. So that's the only thing that scares me. I don't know about you guys.
Babyface, come on in here, because I know you were covering the series. Were you there actually the night? Were you working the night that he hit the home run?
Yeah, I was there that night. That was Tuesday night, right? Now, I wonder if he would clear waivers and he would accept an outright to AAA. No, you don't think he'd do that? I mean, just a chance to bring him back later on down the road.
I think there's just so many teams that would be interested. I was surprised that Rosario went as long in waivers as he did. I think a team like the Milwaukee Brewers that is short-handed on outfielders. They just lost Christian Yelich for the whole season. They need a bat. They need a lefty bat. Jason Heyward checks off both of those boxes. The Atlanta Braves, they are arguably more injured than the Dodgers have been all season, and they're still in the thick of things in the postseason race. Why wouldn't they take a flyer on Jason Heyward? I think he sees it on the wall, and I'll tell you this, if I was him, I wouldn't accept an outright. I would sign with a contender. I would sign with a National League contender. That way you would face your old team. That's just the type of player I would be. I assume he's going to be that way as well.
Yeah. Damn, Canelo with the pettiness, man. Canelo is petty tonight. Babyface, finish off your thoughts.
Well, yeah, so I was there that night, and yeah, after when Dave Roberts spoke, and this video is up on our YouTube. You want to go check it out? Go check out the presser. It did sound very much like Jason Heyward was the odd man out that night, just in what he was saying. He spoke of how the game honors guys like Jason Heyward for doing the right thing, for being that type of player that he was. And he went on to go speak about Jason Heyward. And if you go back and look, go find footage of that home run. I've never seen Dave Roberts so happy. And he even said it. He was super excited for Jason Heyward that night. It was the best thing that happened all season for him, that when he went up there and he pinch hit. He was just super excited because here he knew this was coming. And they gave Jason Heyward that moment, and he took full advantage of it, hit that 3-run home run. Dodgers win the game. And, like Dave Roberts saying, the game honors guys like Jason Heyward. And it was already, the writing was on the wall already then. And Jason Heyward had his moment, his Dodgers moment. And now, he fades off into the sunset.
You're absolutely right about that, Babyface. I will say this. This is the reason Dave S.A. refers to the Dodgers as good guy baseball. What Dave Roberts did was the anti-Michael Corleone, okay? In The Godfather Part 2, Michael Corleone knew he was going to kill Fredo all along, and he had the poker face. Dave Roberts and the Dodgers, I believe, knew that Heyward was going to be cut. And that's why I agree with you 100%. I thought the way Roberts was acting and celebrating that night was really out of character. I was just like, hey, man, it's a little much. And that's because he knew that he was going to cut him. He knew he was going to send him on a boat in the middle of the lake out in Nevada, and they were going to take him out. And so for me, I will say this. I know a lot of people are just like, well, why couldn't they wait until they expanded rosters? Here's the reason that I don't hear a lot of people talk about. The Dodgers did Jason Heyward a solid. What do you mean, Juan? How could they have done him a solid if they cut him? They did this early enough so he could sign with another team and be on a team's roster before September 1st. Because if they waited until they expanded rosters and then they carry him and then they cut him, he doesn't have a chance. So this is kind of like, look, you've been a good soldier. We're going to do this for you. But I agree with what you said, Babyface. If you were listening to what they had said earlier in the week, they were very clear. And that's one thing. I know Canelo and I go back and forth about this, about how the Dodgers aren't necessarily truth tellers. But there are times where I feel like Dave Roberts is a little too honest on certain things that maybe he should play a little closer to the vest. So I was not surprised by the fact that they did it. I understand that some people were just like, oh my gosh, the fact that they actually did it, that's what's surprising. But they were dropping hints all week that something was coming for Heyward. Carlos the Gambler, you are the most optimistic person on this team. Tell me why no pasa nada. And as Adrian said about Chris Taylor's bat, I want to give credit to this. Adrian with a great line. I love what he did, but that bat is colder than my suegra's heart. Hi, ladies and gentlemen, 2 shows nightly at the Pacoima Hilton. Carlos, what did you think of Jay Hay?
So, Jay Hay, DFA'd, I'm surprised. Did the Dodgers get it right? The answer is yes, 100%. I knew something was up when Wednesday's game against the righty, and they had the 2 lefties out there, Edman and Kiermaier in the starting lineup, and they didn't have Heyward. Right there, they told me that's who they're going to go with when they're using lefties against righties.
I'm going to push back a little bit on this only because Edman is a switch hitter and Miguel Rojas was supposed to start that day. However, he had an issue with his hamstring.
And so I was going to get to that too. So if you look at since the beginning, then at the end of the show, I told you about the numbers. Jay Hay's numbers 218 since the All-Star break, and Kiermaier since he joined the Dodgers is batting 243. So there alone, you would want the better bat because defensively he also outplays him. Edman, just what you just said, he's versatile. He can come into the infield, play shortstop, and he plays a very good shortstop because Miguel Rojas had hamstring pull, and he can play the outfield. So I'm surprised because we talk about the Dodgers like veteran players. They don't kind of do that to veteran players. But when you look at Edman, you look at Kiermaier, you look at Heyward, they're all veteran players. That's 3 lefties. One of the lefties had to go. You can't just have a bunch of lefties in the outfield. So that's where the balance is. Now you have 2 righties and 2 lefties. I think it was the right move. He had a great home run in the 8th inning, 3-run home run to get the Dodgers to win that game. But I mean, that's just one moment in time, and it's not, overall he's been, besides that moment, he's been pretty awful, so.
You mean it doesn't erase the fact that he's hitting 208 the whole season?
Exactly. It does not. So yeah, the Dodgers made the right move. And, I know we're going to touch on other stuff, but yeah, I'll stop there. It was the right move.
There you have. Canelo, come on in.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Heyward's role if you read the article that, Juan mentioned already, and I think the big reason why the Dodgers decided to still move on is that Heyward's role, especially when it was going from full-time to now part-time bat, is if you're a lefty or a left-handed bat, you have to hit righties better. And he has reverse splits. He actually hits lefties better this year. And the Dodgers don't need that. They have right-handed bats that can hit left-handed pitching. They've hit left-handed pitching pretty well this season. What they need is for a left-handed bat to, do their role, hit righties well. And he only had an 88 WRC plus on the season so far against righties. He had a 135 WRC plus against lefties in limited playing time. And, it's like what Carlos said. It just seemed like everybody was out playing him on the roster, and kind of looking ahead at the future when September rolls around and rosters expand from 26 to 28. I want Andy Pages to get a chance to prove his worth and make the postseason roster if he can do that. Because I feel like I feel like a lot of people were saying, well, why didn't they wait, until September 1st to do all this, activation with Taylor? Like you said, I feel like I agree with you, Juan. They just knew that they were going to let go of Heyward regardless. So you might as well just rip the Band-Aid off right now and get it over with.
Real quick, couple comments. Roy started asking about Matt Waldron on the Padres. He wasn't DFA'd. He was optioned to AAA. So he's not an option to be picked up.
One of the comments in the chat that I want to address, because I've seen this a lot on social media, is the clubhouse is going to be in shambles. Shaking my head. I was listening to ESPN LA earlier today, right when the news broke, and Greg Bergman and Travis Rogers, who I respect greatly, both called this a dumb move immediately. Now, I understand that the concern is on the bench. Really, Jason Heyward was your only home run threat from the left side of the plate. So I understand that rationale, that way of thinking. But I think the Canelo, I'm going to let you speak to this. You've been talking about baseball reasons on why, this happened. There's a part of me that feels this was not a baseball decision. This was a business decision in the sense that, and Canelo said this, Chris Taylor still owed a lot of money. Jason Heyward's contract is at the end of this year. So, look, the Dodgers have done it in the past. They've eaten the money. In terms of, Canelo brought it up. Why go with Chris Taylor? But for me, part of me is like, this wasn't a business decision. I know I've heard the jokes already that if Heyward was Ohtani's friend, this wouldn't have happened. I get that. So before you guys put this in the chat, I'm just letting you know. But Canelo, is there any truth that perhaps the fact that Heyward got cut wasn't necessarily a baseball decision?
I mean, I think that's 100% the case. I think at the end of the day, if the Dodgers wanted to keep one or the other, I think they would be leaning more of Heyward. You can't forget the season Chris Taylor has had. I know there was a stretch, before he injured his groin where he had a 125, WRC plus in that little short month, and then he got hurt. The Dodgers are banking on that guy coming back and hopefully being somewhat resemble that, while also, having the benefit, unlike Heyward, to play second base, to play shortstop, to play third base, to play a corner outfield. The Chris Taylor that we all know and love that can, is a utility knife that can go all over the diamond, where Jason Heyward's pretty much limited not only just by his age, but just by one particular position, a corner outfield spot, and both of those, unfortunately, are taken. In terms of the money, you hit it right on the head. Chris Taylor has owed a lot of money. I think at the beginning of the season, in terms of dollars, the Dodgers owed, I believe, like $26 million. It's a little bit less now because the year's almost over, but you still have $13 million next year, and then there's a club option that would probably be declined regardless for $12 million. That's why they can't do, a DFA with Taylor. I mean, they could just try to phantom IL him, but, like people have brought up, is that baseball, they're cracking down on that type of stuff right now. And last year, the Mets were that team that got caught with doing the phantom IL. So if Chris Taylor's ready to play, the Dodgers have to see what he has. And in terms of the clubhouse stuff, I understand that Heyward was a leader in the clubhouse. Like, a league veteran, has been on a World Series contending team, has been on some historic franchises in the Braves, the Chicago Cubs, and the St. Louis Cardinals, and then joining the Los Angeles Dodgers the past 2 years. But I think at the end of the day, I think even Heyward knew the writing was on the wall, because, some of the comments he had post-game and then in interviews where he knew that this team, when you go all in, sometimes even good players aren't good enough to make the cut. And I think at the end of the day, I think the team understands that too. I think Freddie Freeman, his best friend, understands that the Dodgers are a better team now without Heyward and everybody coming back than they were with Heyward. And that's just basically how the season went this year. So just be thankful we got what we did in 2023, and hopefully now Taylor can step up, or Pages comes up in September and, proves us wrong.
And don't forget, Kiermaier has absolutely earned this spot. I mean, look at the plays he's done in the outfield, right? He's made some great plays in the outfield in the time he's been here. And like Carlos said, he's even hitting better than he was previously. So he's definitely earned this spot. Now, if he comes in and he would have done absolutely nothing at the plate and made none of those plays in the outfield, maybe he would have got DFA'd. But I think he's definitely earned his spot.
He looks like a good teammate too. Like, if you look at that photo that everybody was sharing, he's at the front and center of that photo as well, cheering on Jason Heyward. He knows his role. He's been playing it well, and I think the Dodgers saw that too. And, maybe Andrew Freeman's playing a little favorites. They were interested in Kevin Kiermaier for like 3 years now. He was back-to-back free agents. He was linked to the Dodgers in free agency. And, he finally got his guy, and it just didn't work out with Heyward in the end. But I definitely agree with that.
I agree with Matty Man in the sense that if it does come out at the end of the year that there was issues in the clubhouse as a result of this move, then the Dodger players are telling on themselves, because at this point, I get that they're human, but I mean, you guys also play baseball professionally. You guys have also been treated. You guys have also the whole season have dealt with the special treatment that Ohtani gets. So you guys know that not everyone is treated the same. This is really about winning a championship. So if this really is about, I don't care about anything, you're setting aside agendas, you're going to do everything possible to win a championship. I want to segue to the most positive person on here because the Dodgers swept the Marineros. And I know the gambler thinks now the Dodgers, even though the record says it, are the best team in Major League Baseball. Gambler, tell me why the Dodgers have fixed everything. No pasa nada. You guys don't have to worry about anything. Start getting your tickets for the parade because it's coming. The Dodgers, they're good now, right, Gambler?
That's right. Will Smith got it right. The Dodgers are the best. He's playing on the best team in the league. Hey, you know what? One of the comments you guys made about Jay Hay being the only lefty with home runs, well, Max Muncy came back. And that,
but he's not going to be on the bench. He's going to be playing.
Exactly.
Late in the game, when you need to go to a left-hander for power, who are you going to turn to?
I would say the only thing, I think Cody said, the only thing I would be worried about is if the Dodgers somehow ended up with Munoz in the bullpen, and then he came out to pitch against Heyward, and he hit a home run for like the third at bat in a row against him. So that's not happening. I think it's, like I said, I'm okay with it. Dodgers right now are the best team record wise. If you look at all the other teams, the Phillies are struggling. And we had this discussion last week too, with, the only two teams with a better record after the All-Star break, the Padres and Diamondbacks. And you know what? Dodgers are keeping up with them. I mean, the whole team's coming back. Muncy looked great. He had, I think he went 4 for 10 in the series with 2 home runs. He looked good. Edman, not so great in batting, but his defense, speaks volume. So that's a good move. The pitching, even, I take back what I said about Kershaw, and I said it back during the rewind, that, hey, he looks good. This guy reinvents himself every year. So I'm not saying he's pitching game 1 of the playoffs, but he's still pitching game 3 or 4, but he looks good. Stone looked good again. He's coming back. Maybe that little fatigue he had, he's looking good. So yeah, I'm not worried. Yamamoto's been throwing bullpen sessions. He's looking good. He'll be back. I think they extended Glasnow's IL stint, so he'll be back eventually. I think that'll be fine. And then Flaherty's looking, as long as Flaherty struggles with the first inning, and then after that he kind of sails through the next 4 or 5 innings. So I'm not worried at all. I think we're in good shape. We took 3 here. We got the Rays next. I think we'll take 2 out of 3, and then we got the Orioles. I think we'll take 2 out of 3 there too. So yep, no, everything's good in Dodger land. So let's go.
You totally fell for the banana in the tailpipe. You totally fell for it. I do want to touch on something that you said about, so you're not worried about Glasnow and the tendonitis.
You know what? No, I'm not. I think some rehab, some what do you call it? Physical therapy, some steroids to the elbow. I think he'll be fine. The clean steroids.
This is what I will say about Glasnow. If he was fine, he would be pitching right now. The fact that he is not pitching, to me, is not something that you just sweep under the rug, but I could be wrong. Let's go to another positive champion over here. Babyface, I know you've been fully confident that there's nothing wrong. As long as this team gets in, they're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, going back with Glasnow too, I mean, he wanted to pitch, right? He wanted to pitch his last start, and Robert said, no, we're gonna sit you. So, I mean, does it come down to, like, if that would have been like a playoff start, would he have made that start? Even if he's feeling that? I mean, I don't know. So give him time to rest and comes back. I'm glad that Yamamoto's coming back, but they're kind of saying late in like middle September. So that's going to give him like 1 or 2 starts. And this guy's going to have to be like, they're really playing it like razor thin. Like everything's got to go smoothly. He's got to come back. He's going to have like maybe 2 to 3 starts, and then it's postseason. So, that's kind of iffy, but I mean, yeah, let's get him back. But yeah, I mean, I think, I was telling you guys earlier, yeah, they're playing better. They're playing a lot better. The pieces are coming back, and we need to see this team now play with all those guys that were supposed to be in that lineup. And then you're adding some other guys that, like Tommy Edman at the back end of it, and Paz will probably be there. So these guys just need to play, and they need to play and continue to play. And like we were saying, yes, when they were losing, it sucks to see them lose and how bad they're playing, and everybody's pissed off and upset how they're playing. But now when they're winning, hey, everything's great, and these wins don't matter, right? These wins don't matter, but the losses do. So that's how, but I've been saying this for a long time. Just get through the season, get in the postseason, and then that's really when I'm going to be stressed out and what's going on, and because they got to win the postseason. That's all that matters. They got to win the postseason.
Canelo, I know you turned a new leaf, and you are all positivity now. The Dodgers are fixed. They've won 10 out of 13. I think you even said Muncy and Edman have saved the season. Have you also fallen for the banana in the tailpipe?
I'm not fully sold yet. I'm a lot more confident than I was maybe a month ago. And I think that's, a given. I figured, I'll give Roger his flowers. He's been saying it for, weeks now. Once injured guys came back, this lineup started to fall in line.
It was like a trade deadline move, right, Cody? It was like trade deadline moves.
Okay, Andrew Freeman, I'm not saying that right now, but it did work. Mookie Betts coming back was the kickstart of it all. I think the Dodgers desperately needed him. I know Ohtani is going to possibly be the league MVP, but I've been saying it for, a year now. Mookie Betts is the Dodgers MVP. He is the most valuable player on the team, and he is showing it in terms of runners and scoring position. His batting average is like top 5 in the league, over 360, making an immediate impact since his activation, coming up with clutch hits during the Brewers series, coming up with clutch hits in this, the Mariners series, which we ended up sweeping. That's a guy that they've missed. Max Muncy, that's another guy. And now instead of having Muncy in the middle of the order, they're having Muncy in the bottom third of the order, which is where the Dodgers have struggled a lot this season. That just adds depth. Tommy Edman is a nice contact hitter that has some pop, plays elite defense. The lineup isn't what I'm worried about. The pitching is what I'm worried about. I am, Carlos, you said Kershaw may not be starting game 1. I'm not 100% sold on that right now because right now he has a 2.6 ERA. Dave Roberts, don't give him any ideas. He may put him out there for game 1, let the veteran get the ball because I'm not super concerned about Glasnow's, elbow tendonitis. It really does seem like an injury where they're like, hey, we got to control your innings. We want you for October. Seemed like Glasnow was really, hell-bent on starting. I think Glasnow would know his body well enough now, especially after having Tommy John surgery already, multiple injuries throughout his career. I think if he thinks he's good to go, even with the implications of, the future, I'm going to trust him on those lines. So I think he'll be back, but I just think the Dodgers want to take advantage of resting him as much as he can. I'm 100% agreeing with Roger. When they said mid-September return for Yamamoto, is he going to be, a 3-inning starter? Is he going to be a bullpen arm? Is he going to be an opener? Or do they plan on having him potentially pitch 5-6 innings in the postseason when every single pitch is just hyper-focused, adrenaline-driven? I'm not totally sold on that. And Kershaw, we all know what Kershaw we have. He even though he's getting older, I have to see him prove it in the postseason, especially after last year. I know he was injured. He's fully healthy as far as we know right now. I assume he's going to get one of those first, possibly, 3 postseason starts, depending on how they feel comfortable with it. Gavin Stone seemed to turn a leaf since he kind of was struggling a little bit in, July and early August, but it's still the pitching for me that's the big concern. But when this team is on, they're, I think 1 through 9 in the lineup, they are the best lineup in baseball. And I know we've seen some other lineups like the Phillies, bring it to the Dodgers. I think the Dodgers right now, since their offense is 99% healthy, they're the team to beat right now. I'll agree with Carlos. I think it was just a matter of time of them getting healthy. And it's not even saying that the Dodgers don't have holes. It's just saying that the level of play in the league this year is just not as good as it was in years past. And the Dodgers are the golden turd in a sea full of turds. They are the team that has come through, and now they're getting healthy at the right time. And I think that's a big thing. I think them getting some rest, being on the injured list and coming in, late August, September, it could bode well for the playoffs, but I just have to see it to believe it. But there's a big series with Arizona coming up, 4-game series at Arizona. That's when I think you're going to see who this team really is, at least, right now.
One of the things I know you guys have brought it up in the chat, so I do want to bring it up. And then for anybody who's new joining us on the live, if you keep seeing these mentions of Danny Duffy, we do have this award that we give out at the end of the show which is the person who catches the most unwarranted, unsuspecting strays. So if you keep seeing mentions of Danny Duffy, that's what that's about. So make sure you have your nominations ready at the end of the show. But one of the other things that keeps coming up in the chat is the Walker Buehler situation. Okay, we're getting close to having a little more than a month left in the season. As you guys can see, Bobby Miller is going to start on Friday. The Dodgers don't have enough starting pitching. As much as I would love to see them keep throwing Robleski or even Landon Knack out there, I think the Dodgers are going to ride this Buehler thing until the end of the season. It seems to me like the Dodgers are secretly hoping that Buehler is going to find something. But Carlos, to me, Walker Buehler starts are very tough to watch because what I am seeing is a guy that has no confidence. I don't think he knows where the ball is throwing and where he's throwing the ball. I also think watching Walker Buehler is almost like watching Bobby Miller. I feel like they're the same person in the sense that they have no control right now. And when they don't have control, they end up grooving one down the plate. And I just, as much as everybody wants to, walk away from the Walker Buehler thing, look, I want to be clear. In no way am I saying that he's being considered to start in the postseason. But he is going to pitch in the regular season, I think, until the end of the season. And I understand the concern because, yeah, they have a 4-game lead now. They still have to win the division because if they don't win the division, they're probably going to end up getting the Show Pods or the Serpientes in the first round. And I don't know if the Dodgers want to see those guys. Carlos, what are your thoughts on Walker Buehler?
Yeah, so Walker Buehler, I was there at the game 2 on Tuesday. Saw Roger out there, and we were both like, man, we came to the game, they're going to lose, And unfortunately, that's the feeling you get,
That's your guys' fault. Yeah, it's your guys' fault. All right, awesome. At least you guys are honest about it.
Man,
bunch of killjoys, man, you guys.
Man, the first inning, he lost 2 runs.
The Mexican Charlie Browns over here. They go to Dodger Stadium.
Hey, it's the truth. And he had a bad start. He started 2 runs in the first inning. I mean, he's giving up a lot of hits. I mean, there's nothing he has that's fooling any batter. So, I mean, I don't know how much longer he can sustain it. There's going to be a game where he's going to get blown out. I don't think he's getting better. I think somebody made a comment that he's getting better, a little bit better. I don't see it. I think it was Paul. I don't see that he is getting any better from his previous start. The experiment, unfortunately, I think it's over. I think they should do him a favor, send him down so he can work on his stuff and so that other teams can consider him for free agency next year, as opposed to letting him pitch, because we're letting him pitch so he can eat up innings, but we're also making him look so bad that nobody's going to want him next year. So I think the Dodgers wanted to be nice to Buehler, send him down, let him finish AAA and work his stuff out, and then hopefully somebody picks him up for like a 1-year deal and he can prove his stuff.
Babyface, you were there in the Buehler game. He seemed to be pretty optimistic in post game. Was that him trying to convince himself, or do you think, like Paul in the chat says, that he is actually maybe looking a little bit better?
Yeah, that's another one. Go listen to that interview, his post game interview, because he was pretty candid, and we were kind of going in there like expecting, especially when they were losing. Like I was thinking, like, man, we're gonna talk to Buehler. He's gonna be all pissed off. They lost. He's gonna be all dumb, down on himself, because they lost. But when we got in there, he was pretty upbeat, right? The Dodgers came back and won. He even mentioned that, it felt great that the Dodgers came back and they won that game. But he was also saying like he felt as closest to himself that he's had all year or since he's come back. And he wasn't necessarily referring to the results on the field. Kind of, he was just talking about his rhythm, his thinking, when he's delivering the pitch, all those movements that he does, kind of all that was kind of feeling back to normal for him. So I don't know if that's going to equate for him to kind of get back to kind of to where Walker Buehler was kind of at. I mean, because I was looking at he's still throwing 96, 97. So he's still throwing pretty hard. It's just he's not commanding. And like you said, he's gonna have to get that command back for him to be. I mean, right now he's not even considered. Right, I don't think for a postseason spot. And then he was even candid about good friend Dylan Hernandez was poking him about his contract, his contract situation. He was like, I'm not even thinking about contract. I have a 6 ERA. That's for guys that have like a 2.5 ERA, and they're doing really good. He's all, I'm not even thinking about that. So, there's things that we don't know. Like I said, if he's feeling maybe like he's kind of getting back to himself, we'll see. It's gonna probably take a couple more starts to see if he's really getting back to who Walker Buehler is and how he's felt before.
Canelo, how do you handle the Buehler situation for the rest of the season?
It's tough, and I love that Buehler can be optimistic with himself, but as someone like us that watches these games, it's incredibly painful. Where half the time I don't even want to watch his starts just because his command is so inconsistent that it's just it's a burden to watch. And I feel like Roger was probably preparing for, like he said, a very bad post game, but the Dodgers offense came through and ended up winning that game. This start against the Mariners was a big start for a couple reasons. The Mariners offense, there's a reason why they've blown their division lead. There's a reason why they just fired their manager today. That's because in terms of offensive rankings, they're like bottom third in OPS. They're bottom third in average. The highest guy with an OPS on their team was Kyle Rowley with a 771. That would be like bottom tier on the Dodgers lineup right now. And, it showed, this entire second half. And it showed for a good part of most of the series. And even though Buehler his line wasn't too bad, it wasn't anywhere close to what I would say a good start against the Mariners team with an offense as bad as it's been. And you look at the outlook on, who's on the Dodgers schedule coming up, and he's going to get a turn in the rotation. He won't pitch against, Tampa Bay, but he'll pitch against Baltimore. And that's a team that's hungry. And that's a team that has a really good young offense. And that's a team that if he makes the same mistakes he did against the Mariners, you're looking at maybe another 3-inning, six-run start. You're looking at, I just don't have any confidence in him whatsoever. If you ask me, who I would rather take a flyer on to get potentially a postseason roster spot in the bullpen, I already floated that in, our chat. I have more confidence in Bobby Miller getting the job done just because I feel like with his 2 pitches, he would look better in the bullpen, where I don't think Buehler would necessarily want to transition to the bullpen just because given he is a pending free agent. I know he'll probably say, I want to do what's best for the team and yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, he probably views himself as a starter. If he's not going to be a starter in the postseason, I don't think he's going to really want a role that's going to affect his upcoming free agency. And that's just my opinions on it. But yeah, I don't know. Both of those guys, I just think they should stay far away from the postseason roster. The Dodgers, they just need their rotation to get healthy because they do not have the luxury. I know the NL West lead right now is 3 and 4 games over the Padres and the Diamondbacks. But when you got some series come up against, a gritty Rays team, a really good Orioles team, an Arizona Diamondbacks team, a Cleveland Guardians team, a Chicago Cubs team that's like kind of still in that like mid-tier playoff chase, the Braves, those are some big series that he's going to be pitching in. And I just don't think they're going to bode well for him results wise. And you're really going to be asking the Dodgers offense, to help you out a little bit more. And yeah, I don't know. I've been off the Buehler train for a while. I've made my thoughts known on the website of Dodgers Beat, kind of where I just think they should just do themselves a favor and kind of take what Carlos said into consideration. I don't think Buehler would accept a demotion to AAA. I think he would just shut himself down. And I think that would be smarter for him in terms of his future. But we'll see what his next start. If he does really good against the Orioles, maybe he does take what he did against the Mariners and builds off that. Because at the end of the day, if Buehler can be better and make the roster, we know what type of pitcher he is. But I just don't think he is that this season.
I want to switch topics real quick. I want to get your guys' thoughts on, before the trade deadline, there was a lot of love for Las Botas de Poder, Randy Rice Arena. And the Dodger fans turned on Randy Rice Arena on Wednesday because he thought Jack Flaherty was throwing at him with an off-speed pitch.
Did Dodger fans turn, or did Randy make the heel turn? I think it was Randy that made the heel turn.
To me, that is a dude who is frustrated that he is not hitting and that Marineros team is sinking fast. But for me, the bigger story is that Jack Flaherty didn't take shit from him. And that's something that is new to me with this Dodger team, because it was a while back that game when they threw it was when Dave Assay said nice guy baseball. It was against the Phillies of Philadelphia when they threw at Lux, and nobody on that Dodger team did anything. So Carlos the Gambler, is it? I mean, I'm glad they traded for Flaherty, but what does it say when they have to get somebody from outside the organization to show some gumption and some fire and to basically send the message, hey, don't bring that. All right. We're not going to deal with it. We're not going to let you push us around. Like, doesn't that also add to a team?
I mean, we were talking about the Dodgers' identity last week, and that's not who the Dodgers are anymore. They're not like this aggressive team who's looking to fight in the field. Those were the days of like Puig, Matt Kemp. Those guys were different. And it's nice to have Flaherty.
But I'm not advocating for a fight. What I'm advocating is someone's trying to punk you. Exactly. Stand up for you. Push back.
I agree. The Dodgers are not that team. It's funny you bring it up because who was the first guy that ran out of the dugout? Jason.
It was Heyward.
It was Heyward. Exactly. And then it was Kershaw, and then Muncy had turned around. Just the Dodgers are not that team, and it was cool that Jack Flaherty was, said, you know what? I don't know what he said to him. The exchange was, but it's it definitely builds character for the Dodgers. But we're not that way. I mean, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts. I mean, these guys are like, I'm not want to say soft, but they're not looking to like. They kind of like, I don't want to say they're pushovers either. It's kind of insulting them, but that's just not who they are. That's not the identity of the Dodgers. There's just not those guys, and it starts from the top. And I've said it before. It's Roberts, man. If Roberts is kind of a pushover, he doesn't really like to get ejected. Doesn't get ejected that many times. It's just that the team kind of follows his lead, and that's who Roberts is. And I think that's where the team gets it from.
Babyface, is this just much ado about nothing? But for me, I was just very surprised. I was more surprised that Flaherty went back at Las Botas de Poder than Heyward getting DFA'd, because I was like, oh, wow, the Dodgers are pushing back in their home stadium. So the Dodgers are actually calling out other teams on their bullshit and being like, hey, man, be real. I'm going to fucking throw at you with an off-speed pitch with 2 strikes. I was just like, come on. I mean, is that something? I mean, this is about intensity going into the playoffs. And I think Paul said it. I love that. Support your teammate, even if it's just show, right? As I said, I don't think anybody really wants to get into a fight. But the fact that, hey, I'm going to stick up for you and we're not going to allow ourselves to get pushed around, that to me, isn't that a like team bonding experiment?
Yeah, and after the hit by pitch, right, him and Randy kind of just looked at each other and they kind of like, yeah, okay, everything's cool. But it was surprising that after he flies out, that's when he looks back and like, yeah, see, dude, you wouldn't have done anything. Like, you wouldn't have done anything against me, or I don't know what he told you, and he didn't explain what he said, but yeah, he kind of just went back at him, and yeah, it shows that you can't push around these guys, and they're not going to be pushovers, and maybe they look for these certain characteristics in guys, right, to bring them over and kind of inject that into the veins, right? Maybe it's not, they don't have that as who they are, but just give them a little bit of character, a little bit of attitude, and Jack Flaherty, we know it. He looks like he's one of those guys. He ain't going to take anything from anybody. So you want to see that, especially from one of your starting pitchers, that he's out there and he's not going to take anything from anybody. But I was thinking about it, I'm like, man, poor Justin Turner, man. He must have really felt conflicted, right? When the benches kind of cleared, like what was he going to do? Like, what if they would have went into a full-out brawl? what's Justin Turner going to do, right?
This is what Justin Turner would have do. He would have ran to Freddie Freeman, hugged Freeman, brought him to the ground, told Freeman, stay on top of me, so then I'm not fighting anybody else.
Tickle
and then they're
fight.
good. Yeah, exactly. Look, no one's really going to fight in a baseball fight. But what this is to me, I think the Phillies game, I feel like the Dodgers really came off looking bad. Am I wrong, Canelo?
No, I shared those thoughts. I think me and you both expressed our feelings. I wrote my feelings about it, and it was just embarrassing. And I don't know if it's the East Coast in me, guys. I know Adrian's already called me out for it, but I'm an asshole when it comes to this sport, and I loved what Jack Flaherty did. You know, I think he did it in a respectful way. You know, you hate to see a pitcher go up there and say, one, it wasn't intentional. It was a 2-2 count. The fastball just slipped and crept way too inside. Rosarena playing theatrics, looking at him, taking his good old time. I don't know why he was taking his good old time. The pitch clock's rolling. We gotta get this going right here. But yeah, I don't know. Flaherty gets him out, gets him swinging. I think he threw him a slider and he was just under it and took it up and a fly out. And Flaherty just basically said what Roger said. You know, you can't beat me. We don't know what was said in between the lines, but yeah, I like it. You know, if you want to defend yourself, you want to defend your team. And immediately when the benches started to come out and just to puff their chest or whatnot, Max Muncy even post game he said, yeah, we're gonna defend our guys. For me in that spot, it's to make sure Flaherty doesn't get ejected from the game, and he went straight to the dugout, and then all sides were done with it. And I think that's good for the postseason. I think it's good to get a habit of, because when you face a gritty team like, the Padres and, the D-backs and especially the Philadelphia Phillies, they're going to play with that intensity. And I think the Dodgers need to find some way to match that intensity and get it on their own. And it wouldn't be a bad trait to get before October rolls around, because I just think they need that. They need to have that dog in them. And I think they got two of them back. They got one on offense in Max Muncy, and they got one on the pitching staff in Flaherty, where David Vassay said his, repetition and his routine is very Kershaw-esque, especially pregame before it starts. And I think that's a good thing to have. I kind of missed that Kershaw before he turned into a dad, when you didn't want to talk to him before his start. But we'll see what happens in his next couple starts, and especially in October. But it'll definitely be really nice to see Flaherty in October pitching with the crowd and intensity.
Yeah, Dennis Gonzalez brought up a very a sad story, actually, when Juan Marichal hit Johnny Roseboro with the bat. And you're right. Marichal's a Hall of Famer, and he never lived it down. He's always remembered, for that. I am not advocating that. I'm not saying that the Dodgers should be out there swinging bats, but babyface, doesn't it, especially in the last playoffs when they were, or in the previous year when they were playing the show pods, you felt that intensity coming through the TV from the show pods. And I feel like the last few playoffs, you don't feel that same intensity from the Dodgers. And I get it. When you're losing, it's hard to get intense. But is that a quality perhaps that this team should look to interject as they get closer to a postseason run?
Yeah, and I've always said this about the Padres: when they play at home, they definitely feed off their crowd. And I don't know if you get that so much, maybe because it's a smaller stadium as well. You don't kind of get that at Dodger Stadium. I would love Dodger fans just to go crazy and for the players to feed off of that, because that's something you see, like I said, you see at the Padres. And their players, they're all different guys. They all feed off of it, right? They get excited about what's going on, and they get excited when they score runs. And the Dodgers is just very even keel, right? And that's how they've always been. And I mean, I don't expect them to change. And but yeah, that's kind of one thing that I've always noticed about the Padres, is just kind of their intensity goes up, especially when they're playing the Dodgers.
Carlos, you're a season ticket holder, so I want to get your impressions on this, because yes, especially in the playoffs, when I see Petco going nuts, or it's Citizens Bank Ballpark, I get it, it's a smaller stadium, but I feel like you feel that energy coming through the TV. You're a season ticket holder. Why don't we get that vibe at Dodger Stadium? Is it because the tickets are ridiculously expensive and the only people who can afford it are not the type of fan that is going to, go nuts in there? Or like, why don't we feel that vibe when it's at Dodger Stadium?
Okay. I mean, don't kill me here in the chat, but on the comments, but this is my personal opinion. I remember about 5 years ago, maybe even longer. I went to, where was it, the Dodger clubhouse, and I asked the bartender, "Hey, how many of these people that come here like real Dodger baseball fans?" He said, "Maybe 20%. And he goes, "The rest, these are just people who just want to drink. They see a home run, they're going to scream, but that's who the Dodgers want, because they come to the game and they spend hundreds of bucks on drinking." And exactly. So unfortunately, a quick example of that too is, like, for example, when there's 2 strikes and you want people to get loud so that it could distract the batter, man, Dodger fans are like, they'll clap, and then the time, and now they have a timer, so that you can keep clapping for 5 more seconds to kind of distract, get loud, and by the 6-7 seconds, they stop clapping, and it's like, okay, I goes, you guys are missing the point. But that's the point to the bartender. The Dodger fans, a lot of them are just, they're there because Dodgers win and it's a good old time, which I'm not complaining. I think that's great. I think everybody should go Dodger Stadium, but like true fans who understand the game, every little detail, it's not that many. And, it's unfortunate because we do, we have so many fans that show up, and it should be louder than it is, especially in the playoffs. But, I think the intensity is what you said. When you're losing, like we were, like in the last 2 series, in the last 2 playoffs with the Diamondbacks and the Padres. I mean, even the players, you could see, like when Mookie, I think he had either no hits or 1 hit in the whole series. I mean, you could see his body language. I mean, no matter how loud we clap for him or scream Mookie, whatever, he's just not. He just it's up to him too, So I mean, that's my take. My take is, unfortunately, Dodger fans, unless there's a home run, which they all think it's a home run. Every time there's a fly ball at Dodger Stadium, all the fans get up at their seat, they scream, and it's a freaking like a pop-up to like shortstop. I'm like, what do you guys, I mean, watch the game, So, I mean, that's my take. I don't want to critique a lot of Dodger fans, but, I just go to so many games. So, and I just hear people, I can hear them from the side. I'm like, they're with their girlfriend and they're going on a date, and they're like, "Oh my God, wow, look at that foul ball." I'm like, what the they're like screaming. They think a foul ball is going to be a home run. I'm like, what are you guys watching? So, when you go to a lot of games, I'm telling you, it's you see a lot of like diverse people who go to the game, and some people who go for the first time don't know the game that well. But like true baseball fans, I'd say it's probably like 20%.
Canelo, you're on the East Coast. Is it just Philly fan? Is it just there naturally? They are born with the intensity. Like, why is, like, I feel like Citizens Bank Ballpark is a true home field advantage. Like, when they made their run, like that, you just felt the energy coming through the TV.
I'll give you the same, point of argument that I give to Phillies fans that bring this entire thing up to me. I think the reason why Dodgers fans, don't get up as much as they used to is just because, we've been there, done that. Regular season games, even when I watch, they just don't mean that much, especially when we're winning. It means a lot more to the Phillies fans here because this is the first time that they've seen winning baseball year in, year out since, the mid 2010s, in like, 2008, 9, 10, 11, when they were really good. We're kind of expecting that. If the Dodgers go on a deep run, I feel like you'll definitely see, some excitement, some intensity and stuff like that. I can remember vividly a bunch of memories of watching, postseason games on TV where I could feel the crowd come through the, TV, like Juan Uribe's, home run in the NLDS and all way back in 2013. That's like a moment there. But yeah, I think it is a home field advantage to a certain extent because it didn't work last year. I mean, you saw the Arizona Diamondbacks. They matched that intensity and they took it to the Phillies, and they ended up winning both of those games, Game 6 and Game 7, in the heart of Philadelphia at Citizens Bank Park with a rowdy crowd. And, my friends that are Phillies fans that were there to see it, they still cheered the way that they were cheering, whether, it's vulgar attitude or just, cheering on the team themselves. it is beatable if you match that intensity. And I think that's the big thing that the Dodgers need to do. And I think since everyone's came back and is active, I feel like they understand that these games matter, because Mookie Betts was pretty animated this series. He had that game tying double. He's whipping his arm around, getting to second base. Ohtani, when he got his stolen base, number 39, he looked pretty excited, clapping his hands pretty hard. Muncy, I love seeing him with the bat drops again. It's the best swing on the team, in my opinion, especially with that. So I feel like maybe they are turning a corner now that everybody's back and it's business as usual. They're in the midst of a division race. They're winning ball games, and I don't know. I like the vibes of the team right now, and I think the fans will follow suit, especially once we get to October.
Yeah, man, I hope it's different. I really do. Okay, so we're going to wrap things up here. So now it's Danny Duffy time, guys. So please put in your comments who are the nominees for the Danny Duffy Award. While you guys are putting in your nominees, do you guys want any last topics you want to throw out? Buehler?
Hey, get there on time on Wednesday if you want to get your Shohei Ohtani bobblehead. And
so wait, the gold Shohei is on Wednesday?
That's right. It's Wednesday. Yeah, it is Wednesday, 28th.
Yeah, okay,
so
ladies.
I was at the last one, right? And there was a line outside the front gate before you could get in. There was a line going down Vin Scully and then turning down, I forget what street that is, but it was turning down that corner. This is the first one. And this is when they're doing the gray variant and whatever. Now they're doing this gold variant with Deco.
Yep.
So I'd imagine that line is going to be even longer.
What's the over under how much this thing is going to be priced on eBay?
About
what are we
$2,000.
Like
$2,000. Yep.
2,000.
Oh,
That's what the other one was placed for. This one's gold.
This one, yeah,
That's
this one's
not real
like
gold.
1,300.
Hey, they don't know that. I think it's gonna be
No.
way more than $2,000.
Think so?
Like
it's
right
gonna
away?
Be crazy. It's gonna be crazy. If I get it, I'll bring it to the next live so I can show you guys.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, they are giving out a gold Shohei Ohtani with his dog Decoy in next Wednesday, the Dodgers and the Orioles, but they haven't announced how many. So we don't know if it's the first 40,000 or if they're going to give out less. Is that correct? Gambler Babyface?
How much was it? How many were the last one?
I thought it was 1,700 for
I think
the
they said
last
something
one.
like that. So
Yeah.
probably somewhere around that in that neighborhood, maybe like 2,000 or less.
Yeah. So it'll be good. We also have the Kobe Bryant jersey on Sunday, and that's really popular, selling for like $120 on the eBay or something like that. So
That is correct. All right, so that's what we got. That's what we have to look forward to, ladies and gentlemen. Goltani. At this point, it's going to be like the opening scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark with people walking around with their Goltanis. So it looks like there's really only one nominee. Dang, Adrian came in with another nominee. So we have two nominees for the Danny Duffy Award. All right. Walker Buehler is the first nominee for the Danny Duffy Award tonight, but Adrian came in with Shohei Ohtani, who's been average since the All-Star break. Danny Cortez last minute, CT3. So we have three nominees. We have Ohtani, we have Buehler, and we have Chris Taylor. All right, I'm going to start the voting now, so you guys are going to have a minute to put in your votes. Those are the three nominees: Walker Buehler, Shohei Ohtani, or Chris Taylor. And the voting starts now. So put in the chat right now who should take the Danny Duffy Award tonight. All right, we got less than a minute going here, guys. So make sure. Okay, we got votes for CT3. All right, we got 2 votes for CT3 already, leading the way. 45 seconds. Buehler 2-1. 2-1. We get Dennis Gonzalez with 2-2. Here we go. 40 seconds. Denny Cortez with CT3. We got 3-2. Chris Taylor is in the lead, ladies and gentlemen. We got 30 seconds. We are going to be closing the poll in 30 seconds. We got Michael. Oh, Cody with Walker Buehler 3-3. Michael Negrete, Buehler 4th. Buehler has taken the lead. Roman Lassane. Buehler has taken the lead 5-3. Otani's average. Okay, we got one vote for Otani. Doom Sal with another vote. It is getting 5-3-2. Here we go. Less than 5 seconds left. Another vote for Otani. It is now 5-3-3. 2 seconds. Last vote. Who's going to do it?
CT3.
I think we got to call it.
It was Buehler.
That's it.
Oh, it's Buehler?
It was Buehler.
Okay.
Walker Buehler.
But we
Walker
discussed
Buehler.
Buehler, though.
Yeah, but congratulations, Walker Buehler. You are the winner of the Danny Duffy Award. Once again, for those of you who are unfamiliar with the the Danny Duffy Award, it is the award given to the person who gets the most unwarranted and unsuspecting strays on the chat. So that's going to do it. Again, we want to thank everybody for joining us. This was our 300th episode. We have done 300 episodes like this. The lives are super fun because we get to engage with you guys. And again, I can't thank you enough for you guys joining us every week and just letting us know what your thoughts are, especially when you guys give us the super chats. We're trying to raise money to go to Japan next year, right? To cover the opener. That's what's going to happen. Bleed Lows in Japan, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned for that one. That's going to do it for this episode. Again, if we have any new people on here, please make sure you're following us on social media. You can follow the Bleed Lows podcast. Also on our YouTube channel, we cover the team. We're at the stadium. We got pregame interviews, postgame interviews. And then Canelo and the rest of his team at Dodgers Beat. Canelo, what articles do you want to promote for Dodgers Beat?
Yeah, I mean, obviously daily I got something coming out, whether it's a preview article, Dodger Note article, kind of catching up on everything. Right now we have a new writer that just got aboard. He's going to be writing an extensive piece on Gavin Lux, so that should probably be posted maybe tomorrow or on Saturday. So that'll be something to look forward to. But yeah, just keep visiting the site.
So there you have it, guys. Check out Dodgers Beat and check out the Bleed Lows podcast YouTube channel. As I said, we have pregame, postgame coverage of the games. That's going to do it for this episode. So this episode of the Bleed Lows podcast has been brought to you by Bet Online. The game starts here. Nos vemos, everybody.